So let's move on to the University of Pennsylvania study. Tavon, why don't you go ahead and tell us what it is that we'll be looking at?
Okay, great. So what we're going to look at in this University of Pennsylvania study is another replication from an earlier study that Wilhelm Reich did dealing with plant seedlings. Basically similar to the RBT, you take some seedlings and compare to other seedlings in the control group in laboratory conditions, and you basically, these seedlings are watered regularly, but you put them in an Orgone accumulator, and you basically observe their health, their growth, their health of the seedlings as they sprout, and basically they drew a conclusion based on that. Basically that the Orgone accumulators do indeed channel energy. They actually call it cosmic energy. Channel it, because how else are you going to describe this? And the seedlings were able to grow from this. And so I'm going to go ahead and share with you that study. So again, this was found in the Water Journal, and it's an actual paper that you can download, but it's called the Preliminary Study of Effects of Reich's Orgone accumulator on oat seed sprouting and the structure of water. So this particular study is remarkable because it's not only describing Orgone energy and you're basically replicating the Orgone accumulator, effects of the Orgone accumulator on seedlings, but it's tying in structured water. Some of you might be familiar with structured water. It's basically, this is a water that is at a higher energy, more organized, almost has a crystalline pattern because of its highly energetic structure. It has remarkable effects. Blood cells are just living creatures. They absorb the water more effectively. The water imparts more energy to the cells. It's almost like a fountain of youth type of water, absorbing this energy. And so they're tying this the effect, the Orgone energy effect, with actually changing the structure of the water that goes into the accumulator. So again, this is the abstract of this research at the University of Pennsylvania. Was they wanted to study the influence of Reich's Orgone accumulator, or ORAC, on water structure, with the aim to explain the effect of ORAC on biological entities. They use seed germination to quantify the effect of ORAC on biological substances. To study the effect of ORAC on water structure, they've analyzed 168 samples, half of which were controls. They analyzed the samples using the capillary dilatometric method and found that the amount of structured water rose significantly if the samples were kept in ORAC. Now this is important because basically it's tying Orgone energy directly to structuring water. So again, this could be applied to the technologies that have been a derivative from the Orgone accumulators, including the orgonite composites that people are making today. So the structured water has greater biological activity, which can explain a positive effect on Reich's Orgone accumulator on the living subjects. So again, you can look at this paper and just continue. They just basically talk about the idea behind the study, the claims that Reich made using Orgone accumulators and its ability to treat wounds and ulcers and all kinds of pains and other type of syndromes, and even the claims of for the treatment of things like osteoporosis and cancer, which is, these are amazing claims, and other maladies. So it goes on to what the claim benefits were based on what they were reading, and wanted to demonstrate or at least replicate the effect of this energy on structured water, and in this test oat seeds. So then they described what they used for an Orgone accumulator. First they had a steel container with the seedlings in it, and they put this container within a jacket of like an Orgone accumulator type jacket of steel and other layers. And then they continue with the test, and how they're able to do the measurements for the test. And then towards a conclusion, they basically share what they saw as far as the number of seeds germinated from the test experiment ORAC chamber versus the controls. It's amazing. I mean, almost more than double the amount of seeds germinated. The length of the sprouts were longer sprouts within the accumulator. A higher average root length of the sprouts. And it also goes on to interesting that the content of structured fraction. So they had some way of, and I think this would be more of the complex area of it, but they had some way of measuring the statistical ratio of structured water, and that was being analyzed in the control and experiment samples. So they saw an increase. Basically, they saw an increase of structured water inside the Orgone accumulator. And then you see a picture of the sprouted seeds. The first one in slide A is the control seeds, and then in the slide B is the Orgone charge seeds, the seeds that were sitting in the accumulator, and you can see the dramatic difference. That it's amazing. And then they drew conclusions about basically, yes, the Orgone accumulator does indeed impart energy into the water. And basically, I think this research differs from what, on a more specific way, they're saying it's the water that's being charged. It's not necessarily the energy going straight to the cellular structure of the plants. It's the water the plants are drinking that allows them to grow healthier and stronger and larger. But what I thought was interesting was their concluding statement in their this is a scientific journal here. The effect of Orgone accumulator as a concentrator of, get this, cosmic energy is observed. And Reich's great achievement consists in the fact that he offered a device to accumulate the cosmic energy, which has a favorable effect on living organisms and ways of its useful application. Now, we're talking about cosmic energy, we're talking about open systems. We're in the sea of energy, environmental energy that's coming from space and the environment around us, and how these devices can be channeled to basically structure water and revitalize things like seedlings. So I thought this was an amazing study on again, replicating what Orgone accumulators are capable of doing, but also more importantly, this effect of this energy field being around these materials, and we can use that field, that form of energy, passively to do things like structure water and cause seeds to sprout healthier, and especially with things like crop losses now, more than ever, we can use this kind of technology for being able to maintain our seeds, and yeah.
Thank you. So with this in mind, we have developed a product, an Orgonite charge plate, that would help to do such things as structure your water, preserve your food, help you to sprout your seeds. So, Tavon, would you tell us a little bit about the Orgonite charge plates, what they can be used for, and of course, as with everything else, they are handmade, and we have some specials running as well.
Yeah, sure. So we developed the charge plates based on what we found was beneficial when we first started making our pendants and sharing with our family and friends, and we wanted to make something larger and do some experiments with seeing if we can preserve food. In fact, one of the reasons why we made the charge plate was we had a problem with because we're in a hot climate, and our food tends to, especially like the leafy green vegetables, tend to go off rather quickly, even if you have them in the fridge. They only last like 3 or 4 days. So with these things, and we wanted to replicate some other experiments that others are doing, so we decided to take these materials and actually make a charge plate. So when we started making our own charge plate and putting it in our fridge, to our surprise, we're able to keep our lettuces literally like another 2 weeks longer than what we expected them to last. And we knew that's when we knew there was something to this. Other people who were making Orgonite type composites, Orgone composites, harmonizers out of these plates, basically this resin material with these components inside, They're describing similar effects, and we had to replicate it, and we decided to go with powders. In addition to that, we already started researching what shungite is and what it's able to do as far as transforming harmful fields in the environment. And so we added shungite to all of our plates. And so we're using our plates to preserve the fruits and vegetables and the meat in our fridge, also the drinks. Also, we have a plate in our freezer to structure the ice and to keep things, to have a field in there. Also be aware that based on what I just described, what an Orgone accumulator is, your refrigerator at some level has an accumulator type property to it, because basically it's a metal frame lined with plastic on the inside and probably on the outside as well. So it already has a preservation type of property to it. But by putting a harmonizer like one of our plates in there, or some type of Orgonite device inside the fridge and in the freezer, it doesn't have to be ours, but you basically amplify that food preservation aspect. Also, your drinks will preserve. You'll find your milk and your drinks will preserve longer also. Outside of the fridge, you can have these plates sitting kind of like a nice decoration piece in your living room or on your kitchen, with your bowl of fruits and vegetables on top of it. Again, there are experiments you can see online where people have taken lemons and tomatoes and put them on their charge plate, and with the 30-day test, and with the same fruit or vegetable and on a glass jar somewhere else, and then within 30 days, the one that's on the plate seems to fare better than the one that's not on the plate, which is all slimy, moldy, and what have you. So again, yeah, these plates they serve all kinds of purposes, but we use it mainly for food preservation. But again, like some of our other products, if you want, you can have it. If you're not feeling well, if you want to have a better night's sleep, you can have it on the bed with you. And because what's happening is that, again, these harmful fields, these high frequency fields that would otherwise pass all around you in your body, some of that gets absorbed and transformed with the plate. So by having this plate on you or near you, you feel some of that effect. You feel a relaxed, calming effect. It's like your body, a burden's been taken off of your body. So that's what we're offering.
And again, you can find those at ftwproject.com. We are always running some specials on our plates. Go ahead and click on our shop or click on our specials tab on the website.